Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so good evening and welcome to the University of Vermont's information session on end-of-life care courses and programs. I'm going to allow a minute or so for everybody to be let into this information session. So again, hello, good evening. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us today to learn more about the end of life care programs at the University of Vermont. There's a few things that I'll let you know at the beginning, and then I'll also remind you later. Those of you who have taken this time to join us tonight, thank you. There will be a question and answer period at the conclusion of this, and you can access that Q&A box. You may have to select the option for more in order to find it, but there's no comments. The comments are disabled, but there's a Q&A box, and so you can enter your questions in there. We have Lauren, who is off camera, going to be answering as many of those questions, and then we can also, again, respond to those at the end. Also wanting to let everyone know that this is recorded tonight. So if you have to leave or for it, or you want to share it, this will be sent to you and then also available on our website. Let's get right in. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. And here's the things we're going to be going over for our agenda. First, I'm going to introduce you to our program lead, Julie, and she'll be talking about her background, her passion for end of life education. We'll also be going over, what end of life care education entails, who our students are, the diverse career paths that this field opens up. We'll provide a detailed overview of our programs, followed by short introductions to each of those and our upcoming courses. So as you can see, we have several of us are on the call tonight and coming from all over the country. Actually, as I'm looking and thinking, Alaska, California, we got East Coast, but we're all here with you tonight in order to answer your questions and for some of these instructors to tell you a little bit about their courses. And then we'll have FAQs, some of the most common questions we receive, and then finally an open Q&A. And again, you can ask your questions through the Q&A box and get a response from someone on our team or during or after, and this is recorded. So we're excited to share this information with you tonight. We hope you leave feeling inspired and informed about the important work happening in end of life care. So let's get started, and I will pass it to Julie.
Hi, everybody. My name's Julie Raymond Jacobian, and I am the team lead for the End of Life Doula program here at the University of Vermont. And as Jess mentioned, I'm in Alaska. I'm the one in Alaska. And I've been in this role of team lead for about 6 months. I'm also a graduate of the program. And so it's really exciting to now play this role in the program as well. I know firsthand the value of the courses that we offer, including the End of Life Doula, Companion Animal Doula, and Business Foundation courses, all of which I have personally graduated from. And after completing the courses, I have widely recommended them to doulas and aspiring doulas that I encounter. So again, very exciting now for me to play a role in keeping this program moving forward and hopefully welcoming many of you into our courses. I'm a practicing end-of-life doula here in Alaska, and my work focuses on doula work as well as home funeral guide work, and both for humans as well as animal companions. And I'm really passionate about my work and One of the things I really love doing in my work is legacy projects. And maybe you know what those are. Maybe you'll learn more about them soon. And again, I'm here in Alaska. You can see behind me we're in the throes of winter, though the sun is peeking out for the first time today, really. And this is really my favorite time of year. I love the Northern Lights. I love snowshoeing and skiing and being outside and stargazing in our longer northern winter days. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm very grateful that you're all here tonight to learn more about the courses we have to offer. So, what is end-of-life care, and what is an end-of-life doula? Well, an end-of-life doula is someone who provides a compassionate presence at end of life or when planning around end of life. And doulas can provide a wide range of services to clients, each doula deciding what their particular specialty and interests are and what they're most skilled in doing. An important point about end-of-life doulas is that we are non-medical. Though our trainings and our skills and our offerings complement the treatments and offerings of other medical professionals. And in this slideshow, or in this slide here, there are just a few of the many kinds of services that doulas might offer. Things like coordination of care, grief support, and vigils, as well as many other things like advanced care directive guidance, spiritual or religious discussions, general companionship, facilitation of difficult conversations, and life reviews, among other things. Doulas provide non-judgmental and compassionate presence and advocate for the wishes of their clients. End-of-life doula work is so exciting to me personally because each doula can customize their offerings to their own specific skill set and interests. My background is as an anthropologist, and I love bringing my anthropology skills into my doula work, for example, in legacy projects. And the courses that we offer through our end of life doula program provide lots of different opportunities for you to build your doula skill set or to expand it in ways that suit your interests, your clients, and your communities. So, who are possible students in our courses? If you're here tonight in this webinar and have curiosity and interest about doula work and death and dying in general, one of our courses is probably for you. Not everyone who takes our flagship end-of-life doula course, which you'll hear more about, intends to become a doula, though many people do. Lots of people are already practicing in the field of end-of-life care in some way. Doctors, nurses, palliative care and hospice staff, chaplains, counselors and therapists, volunteers, and others. So there are a lot of different ways that the content in our courses can be applied to a career you already have or to one that you're looking to join. Some of our learners are currently family caretakers as well, to family members or other loved ones, or anticipate that they may need to be a caretaker in the future and want to feel as prepared as possible to do so. Other students are curious and compassionate learners who have a desire to serve the dying with an enhanced knowledge and skill set. And our end-of-life doula course, as one example, is fit for all those folks and more. And our specialist courses like companion animal doula, grief and bereavement, and others that you'll hear about tonight are other opportunities to add to your doula toolkit or just to deepen your knowledge in one specific area. So what kind of careers, in addition to the ones I've just mentioned, might you have in the future if you pursue end-of-life doula work? Well, again, our courses are truly for anyone who's interested in adding doula skills to their toolkit or to complement their existing work or training. Some of you may specifically be planning to become an end-of-life doula and perhaps to open your own practice. That's fantastic and exciting, and we have courses for you. There are many other roles and positions that our courses are valuable training for, and that includes hospice staff and volunteers, people working in home health care, particularly with end-of-life patients or in elder care, others working in healthcare fields that engage with patients at or planning for end of life, social workers who have clients near end of life, mental health care providers or support staff, chaplains, and others providing spiritual and religious support, staff at senior centers, adult daycares, community resource centers, and other places as well. So each instructor that we have online tonight with us is going to be invited to share about their course. And I'm going to start off with our flagship End of Life Doula Professional Certificate course. And this course has over 4,600 alumni in it, or that have graduated from it. And in this course, students will learn how to describe the role and the scope of a doula and to develop and apply core doula skills. Students will learn how to work in harmony with a client's chosen care team, to respect appropriate professional and personal boundaries, to understand common conditions and diseases, pain management practices, the active dying process, and helpful non-medical interventions to ease suffering. Students in the end-of-life doula course will also learn to recognize and support anticipatory grief, mourning, and bereavement, to effectively refer clients and loved ones to other local professionals and organizations, as well as businesses that provide relevant supportive offerings. Students will learn to engage in meaningful conversations and life reviews with clients and to assist with things like legacy projects, and to support clients in developing their wishes around vigils and values-based advance directives. Students will also learn to nurture a protective and calm presence and to develop an awareness of cultural perspectives about end of life and considerations for working with special populations. So a very wide-ranging course that will help you build the skills you need to become an active doula or to support your family, loved ones, and community in a variety of different ways. And I'll turn it over to Nikki.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Hi, I'm Nikki Vitale, and I'm in right north of Boston. Um, I am going to share what the Grief and Bereavement Specialist Certificate Program is. This is one of our newer courses, and it's been very, very well received by the students who have graduated from it. The goal of the Grief and Bereavement Specialist Certificate is there is one practical goal, which is for individuals who are interested in starting and facilitating a grief support group. And to that end, the course is a very deep dive into historical perspectives on grief and bereavement and theoretical perspectives on grief and bereavement, combined with some practical skills, psychoeducational and expressive therapies that a person who is facilitating a group would be able to use with their group. So it is both hands-on, but also very brain-centered, cognition-centered as well. We cover in this course some pet bereavement, models of grief, the Freudian basis for grief, going back to the Victorians, how the Victorian practices of grief are still influencing the way that we practice mourning and bereavement even today. So it's a very well-rounded course. It's, I think I said, a deep dive into this area, and it it is very interactive, and we think that it's a really great way to add to your skills if you are already in the end-of-life care field. If you are just beginning, it is a fantastic foundation to, understand and go forward with it. And that's what I'd like to say about that course. And now I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Thanks so much, Nikki, and hi everyone. My name is Sarah Hill, and I am an instructor for the End of Life Doula Business Foundations course. And I think just kind of in a nutshell, really, this is about demystifying the fundamentals of what it would take to run a doula business. I think we do such an excellent job in our foundational course and our other offerings as well of giving you the tools you need to be successful in doing the work. But we find that a lot of new or aspiring doulas are a little bit challenged about how do I stand up a private practice or get started in forming a collaborative or a collective, or if I wanted to go a path of endeavoring to start a nonprofit, what are the steps that I would need to take? So there is working in the business and then working on the business. And so the Business Foundations course is about getting you kind of up and running and giving you the confidence that you need to take all the good learning that you might have around the End of Life Doula Professional Certificate or any of the other courses we offer, but then turn that around and activate it within your own communities. So it's an 8-week long course, and during that time together, we will help you kind of dive deep into what your service areas are going to be, the offerings that you will offer your community. We'll help you take a look at how you can price responsibly and relative to the geography in which you're operating, and do it in a way that's going to be ideally sustainable for you too. There are a lot of kind of hidden expenses that can come with operating a private practice. And so again, it's about demystifying these and giving you the tools you need to set your price point at a way that's going to be both in integrity with the clients that you serve as well as keeping you afloat. The other thing too is about how do we market end of life services? For a lot of people, they shy away from that, thinking that it feels kind of challenging and maybe a little bit misaligned with the kind of heart centered work that we do. So we will talk a bit about how we can market the services authentically in a way that's resonant for the people who are in a very tender time of their lives. The other thing that we really focus on is how do we build client relationships that are ones of integrity. This is very intimate work. And so, what are the different steps that you can take to be very proactive at making sure that you are the kind of container that your clients can really count on and really be guided through their end of life process with? So we have it structured so that there's videos and guidance from folks who are actually doing the work in our industry, so you can learn from them very directly what they've learned along the way. We also have a great collection of tools that are there to help you do the translation process of, okay, how would this apply in the realm that I'm trying to activate? So those tools, really, it's kind of weekly assignments that over time build to provide you with a kind of stepping stone from how do I get to where I am today in ideation all the way to activation and get up and running. And for those of you who already do have a private practice or are doing the work, this is about really honing it and becoming even more intentional in how do I vision for the future what it is that I aspire to see either for my private practice or collective, however you want to structure your organization or business, and then start to build a really crystal clear map to get you to a future state. I think the big thing that I would love to say too is for those of you who have already taken the End of Life Doula Professional Certificate course, one of the hallmarks of that is this real deep contemplation, an opportunity to dig deep and figure out how you're going to show up as a doula and how that unique offering that you're going to bring to bear comes into the world. So we thread that through into the business foundations too. We're going to really make this about how can you apply some of the principles of both the doula work and then the business practicalities that go along with it and make it your own so that it is more resonant and you have a stronger likelihood of converting somebody who's curious about what you're doing to becoming an actual client. So that's what I have to say about the business foundations for today, and looking forward to any other questions that you're going to have a little bit later on. And I'm going to hand it over to Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura. I am one of the instructors. I'm going to talk to you guys about the Pediatric End of Life Doula Specialist Certificate that we offer. This course was developed because we felt there was a need for those doulas that do end of life work to get more expertise working with children and young people. We find a lot of people tend to shy away from this population just from fear or not having enough information or knowledge. So this course is 4 weeks. We do recommend that you have taken the 8-week course first or another doula education program from another training institution, just so you have the foundation of what a doula does and what doula skills are needed. Because this course is only 4 weeks, it does move quickly, but it doesn't go over those fundamental doula skills. Okay, so we will talk about the differences between pediatric and adult end of life care, the different legal, medical, and social distinctions that you might come across as a doula when you're supporting children and their families. We'll look at the ethical considerations that come up when you're caring for young people. And also the developmental considerations for pediatric children how they view dying and how they view other people dying. So we will look at how to navigate those conversations with children and with those supporting them. We'll also look at the systems involved in pediatric end of life care. A lot of people are involved in a child's life, whether it be parents, family members, a medical team, a soccer team, classmates. So we want to look at identifying all of those different support systems and how a doula can help navigate challenging conversations with each of those different groups. Yeah, and back to Nikki, I think.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Laura. Yes, I'm going to share with you what the Companion Animal End of Life Doula Professional Certificate Program is. This is really a very unique course. The concept of a companion animal end of life doula is a relatively new concept. And basically, the course takes and teaches the same foundations of a doula mindset, applying it to a pet parent who is dealing with a terminal diagnosis for their beloved animal. And so skills such as holding non-judgmental space, a concept we refer to as positive regard, the idea that you are actually companioning the pet parent. This is not being a doula to the animal. The animal's medical care is being handled by their veterinary team. However, working with the veterinary team to be able to go on this journey, a difficult journey with a pet parent is a very special and sacred kind of activity. We are also very fortunate in the Companion Animal Doula program to have a veterinarian who is part of our teaching team and who also is able to respond to questions and respond to student assignments. The veterinarian, the lead veterinarian is a man who has many, many years of experience in at-home euthanasia, and he's an extraordinary guy. And we have some other absolutely wonderful veterinarians who have joined as well. So the veterinarian perspective on an animal's death and dying are well represented. So it's a great course if you love animals and you love the people who love animals. This is a, a good program to take. Whether you decide that what you want to do is volunteer at a shelter or with animals in some way, the professional outlook it's new because it's a new job. So there's a lot of education that our graduates can do to veterinarians and shelters and rescue agencies about what kinds of benefits a companion animal end of doula doula can offer. And I'm a graduate of that program. It really set me on a new course in my life. And if you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to field those later on. And let's see, I think I'm even going to talk about the next course, which is the Pet Loss Support Group Specialist Certificate. This is, no pun intended, a pet project of mine. And it will prepare students to facilitate pet loss support groups. And we are going to examine this from by unpacking the emotional aspects of grief and applying that to the specific area of pet grief. Um, there wasn't a lot of research done into the area of pet grief for many years. I mean, some people were offering this kind of support, but in the last number of years, with the rise of the field of anthrozoology, which is the study of the human-animal bond, there's been phenomenal research done in the area of pet loss and pet grief. So in this course, students will be reading up-to-date research, but also doing field assignments and again, getting a toolkit for being able to facilitate a pet grief support group with confidence. And it will include interviews with various individuals from the animal-human interaction world. And I'm looking forward to being able to teach it starting in April. And now I'm going to send it back to Alaska, from Boston to Alaska, Julie, okay?
Thanks so much,
And
Nikki.
Julie, I apologize. I'm just going to jump in.
Sure.
Thank you all for submitting the amazing question and answers. Some of you are starting to say that your question hasn't been answered yet. I'm saving questions that are going to be answered live. So just be patient because there's some questions we want to just really explain. So we will get to your questions, whether live or written.
Thank you, Laura. And thank you, Nikki, and our other Laura and Sarah for explaining all of these courses. I'm going to now share some information about our second new course, Navigating Change in Life Transitions, a Resilience Skills course. And this new course was developed by another one of our UVM instructors, Matilda Garrido, who couldn't be with us tonight. But this course was designed to support end-of-life doulas in helping clients navigate challenges and transitions such as death, grief, terminal illness diagnoses, retirement, divorce, menopause, and other major life changes. So this course will not only equip doulas to better assist their clients, but also provide tools for their own personal growth during their own life transitions. And like many courses in the End of Life Doula catalog here at the University of Vermont, it emphasizes self-exploration and personal development. And we think this course will be both a practical and transformative addition to your toolkit as doulas or as those interested in these topics of change and life transitions. So we're very excited about these two new courses as well as our existing courses. And I am going to turn it back over to Jess.
Yes, thank you. And great job with the questions, Lauren. I jumped in for a few. We've got a lot of great questions. So I will just quickly go through these final slides so that we can make sure that we get to all of those. But we just wanted to, we're just incredibly proud at the University of Vermont to house the first end-of-life doula program that was developed alongside or with our medical school. Also, our courses are taught by a team of expert instructors who you can see some of them right now on our screen. You've got to hear from them. They have advanced degrees in their respective fields. They actively work with the dying and the bereaved and families. So you're learning from practitioners who bring real world experience and compassion and best practices into the classroom. When you join our programs, you're not just taking a course. No, I can't say that today. You are joining a community. We have a tightly knit alumni network. Graduates have access to ongoing book clubs, professional webinars, and connection long after you complete the coursework. And then, as you can see from this info session, we're always growing. Our course catalog continues to expand, offering more training and educational opportunities as your career evolves, as the field advances, as we hear from our students about what more they want. So whether you're just beginning or you're looking to deepen your expertise, we're committed to supporting your ongoing professional development.
Hey,
And
Jen.
then,
Oh,
yeah.
I just
Nikki?
wanted to add one thing very
Yep.
quickly,
Mhm.
which I neglected to say, but in the grief and bereavement course, in the CAD course, and also in the pet grief support group specialist course, there is considerable opportunity for one's own self-development to be reflecting on your own beliefs and thoughts and perspectives on death and dying and grief and bereavement. And we are very proud to sort of to include that kind of material because we understand that if you are doing this work, you are constantly growing. You can't not grow in this field. As you learn things, as your perspectives may change, and they certainly will widen. So self-care and self-development are important elements in all of our courses, including the three that I just mentioned. I just
Yes,
wanted to
thank
add that.
you, Nikki. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's something we've repeatedly heard as well, is how wonderful an experience individuals have in taking these courses because of the individual work and introspection that they get to do. Thank you. And then finally, one other relationship that we have here at the University of Vermont is with our Osher Center for Integrative Health. So this group brings education, research, networking among an international group of 11 academic centers funded by the Bernard Osher Foundation, all about studying, teaching, practicing integrative healthcare. And so I think next we will go through some frequently asked questions. And so this may answer some of the questions that have already been coming up, and then we'll anything that not we can get to. So Julie, if you could tell us, like, what's a typical week look like in these courses? And I've seen this in the chat. People are asking
Mhm.
about time. When does the class take, like, actually take place, and what happens if I have to travel? And what's the format like?
Yeah, so our format is an online format, and students generally we estimate students will spend somewhere between 7 to 10 hours per week on coursework. And this is, of course, very dependent on how much time you spend with the materials that are provided, but generally we would say about 7 to 10 hours. And this would include participating in discussion boards with your fellow students as well as your instructor. There are also optional live sessions for the courses, and those are optional for students. You don't have to join them, but they are another opportunity to see your instructor in person, see me in person, and to engage with some of the other students in the courses as well. So you'll be doing a combination of readings, exercises, discussion board posts, watching videos or listening to content, and doing that on a week by week basis. So for example, in the End of Life Doula Professional Certificate course, it's an 8-week course. There are 8 modules, one per week, and there are assignments due at the end of each module. So if you are going to be traveling, this is online, so you can of course do it from anywhere. You'll just need to pay attention to your assignment due dates and make sure that you turn things in a timely fashion as you move through the different modules in each course.
Thank you. And then what about any live? Are there live sessions? There are some people asking, is there any work that's done synchronously? How does a student interact with their instructor?
Yes, so most of the courses do have live sessions, and these are optional Zooms. You're not required to attend them, but you do have the option to go there and again have more engagement if you would like to. There is no synchronous coursework happening in those live Zooms. For example, I'm just going to use the End of Life Doula course again as an example. There are 3 live optional Zoom sessions. One dives more into the role and scope of a doula, which is something you will have already started to cover in the course by that point in time. The second session talks about self-care as a doula and things that you can do for yourself as self-care and things to be aware of for other caregivers as well. And then the third session in the End of Life Doula course is Ask a Doula. So you can ask any questions that you have, anything related to the course or about doula work that may not have been covered yet or you'd like more information on. So that's an example of how the live sessions work. And each instructor is also offering a 1 hour office hour per week when there is not an optional Zoom. So there'll also be an additional opportunity or one opportunity per week to engage live with your instructor and other students in your course as well.
Let's see, how else, any other, in terms of the next questions, how do online courses work? Um, and then can you tell us what will I receive at the completion of the course?
Sure. So in terms of how the online courses work, we use a program called Brightspace, which is where all the content for our courses is kept. And at the beginning of each module, the material is released to you. So it goes week by week by week. So you don't get access to all 8 weeks in week 1, for example, so that you can kind of pace yourself as you go through the course. And there are, as I mentioned, discussion board assignments where you'll have to post a reflection on a question related to the course materials. There are quizzes in each model that review the material in the course. There are also some other written assignments, different ones for the different courses. But for example, in our End of Life Doula course, students put together a resource guide of different resources in their area that have to do with doula work. So it might be things like hospices that are in your area so that you will have, by the end of the course, you will have a full resource guide for yourself that you can use to do things like make referrals to clients or just share information with clients. And so each course has their own kind of assignment like that as you move through it. So you will have access to all of the course materials for 6 months after you complete the course, so you can go back. There's also a section of additional resources, things that you don't need to complete or read or review during a particular module, but are there if you would like to access them. So there's also a great deal of additional information to help you in your skill development as well. And at the end of the course, you will receive a professional certificate of completion. And with that comes a digital badge that if you, for example, have a website, you can put that on your website that shows that you completed whichever course it is that you have taken from us.
Julie, I'm going to actually, we're those taking February course will have that badge. We are switching our internal registration process, and so everyone will still get a certificate. The badge, it won't be available moving past the February course.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
And there are a few more questions about, like, what is coursework? For instance, somebody asked if there's a final exam, and no, there are no exams, right? So what are some examples of assignments or like readings? Is there a required book those types of things.
Yes, thank you, Jess. The courses do have different required reading books, which should be um, things that you can either purchase online or find in a local library. Um, Assignments typically include, as I mentioned, responding to different prompts on our discussion boards. So, depending on which course you're in, it might be a prompt reflecting on relationship with companion animals and what that looks like. Part of the assignments are also replying to students' posts, your fellow students. So you'll post your own reflections on a prompt that's given to you, and then you'll also reply to what your fellow students have shared as well. And that is part of developing your doula voice and your compassion towards others. As I mentioned, the end of life doula course, you develop a resource guide over the 8-week course. Other courses have similar things, like in the business foundations course, you'll develop what's called a stepping stones document that includes your reflections on the different portions of the course. You'll be looking at things like what your short and long-term goals are, what some of your expenses might be, and things like that. So you'll be putting all this information together week by week as you go. And at the end, you will have a full document that has material that it will help you move forward into developing a formal business plan, for example, at the end. So each course is a little bit different. We don't have time to go through every single course and all the different assignments, but those are examples. There are also weekly quizzes that reflect back on the material as well, but there is no final exam. There's no final term paper or something like that. But yeah, those are examples of the kinds of assignments.
Another question. So now we're just going into the Q&A and we're getting more and more questions. We're trying to answer them, but one I'm seeing pretty commonly is there some progression? Do I have to take one before the others? Can I take them? Can I take multiples at the same time? People want to know, if they're excited, should we take do you have to take the 8-week end of life before you take some of the others? And I would say anyone can jump in on this to any of our instructors,
Yeah,
um,
does someone else want to
or
give it a
Julie.
shot?
Yeah, yeah, I can answer that because I saw something. You don't have to take the human doula course in order to successfully take and complete the animal companion animal doula course. Both courses um, present the principles and foundations of a doula mindset, a doula approach, a doula perspective to working with either a family member of a human or a family member of an animal. So you can certainly take those courses. I know that the pediatric course, Laura specifically can talk about wanting to have some background. The grief and bereavement course, that's like a really deep dive grief and bereavement, introduction to grief and bereavement, but more, introduction and more. So you may take that course and then be interested in taking the doula course. You may be interested in what you've learned about grief and bereavement, and then seeing how the principles of doula work fit into that. And I can say for the pet pet group support certificate, there will be a review of always a review of two of the foundational aspects of doula work. And there will be readings and other material that will enhance people's ability to facilitate a group with a non-judgmental, compassionate mindset. And that you can call that doula, you can call that just being kind. So, yes, I think, but Laura, you should talk about your pediatric course, because you do sort of want some background there, right?
Yeah, we recommend that you have taken the 8-week end-of-life doula course or from another institution, just so you have the foundations in what a doula is, what a doula does, and the skills of a doula.
And I'm just going to jump in and piggyback off of what Laura said for Business Foundations. Similarly, there's no prerequisite, but having a working knowledge of the work of a doula will only enhance your experience in the Business Foundations course.
Yeah, and to the question of taking more than one course at a time, there's no prohibition on that by any means. I think it's completely up to you as an individual to know whether or not you have the time to do that. As I mentioned, 7 to 10 hours is what we estimate per week for our courses, and some students spend a lot more than that. It really depends on you as a person. And one of the reasons our classes we think are really ideal is because they are asynchronous. So, excuse me, if you have a busy work or family schedule, you can fit in that 7 to 10 hours wherever works best for you. So, if you have 14 to 20 hours a week available, you could certainly take more than one course, two at a time. But I think that's a real personal decision about time management.
There's also questions for accommodations. So students who maybe have learning differences, how are they supported in this online course environment?
Yeah, great question. We do have student support services, and maybe Jess or Lauren can remind me of the actual name of the office, but that can assist students that have different learning abilities. And so we work with students that have requests and do our best to meet what those needs are. I'm sorry that I'm spacing on the
Yeah,
name of that
I'm
office.
sorry. And it's in our FAQ on the website. So if you want the link, just go or put a question in the Q&A and I'll give you the link. But on our 8-week EOLD web page, in the FAQ section, there is a question on, do you offer student learning accommodations? And the links of where you can go and even apply, like if you can work with them on what your specific accommodation needs are, and that's where you would go for help.
Yeah, and you can do that now if you have questions and want to know before you enroll in a course if the appropriate accommodations are available to you or how that might work. You can do that now before registering.
Great. There's a few questions about it not being, if you're not religious or if you're agnostic. Um, would anyone like to speak to that?
Yeah, I can talk about that because in the grief and bereavement course, we talk about we have a module on intercultural and multicultural bereavement practices. And one of the readings in for that module is a really quite amazing article from the Harvard Divinity School about atheism and death and dying. One of the things um, that we try to help you develop is a non-judgmental approach to working with clients. And so, if that is something that you're comfortable with and you end up working with somebody who has certain spiritual beliefs, um, being able to listen to them and in a compassionate, non-judgmental way is a skill that we hope that we can help you develop. But this isn't an animal chaplaincy, or I should say from the animal, it's not a chaplaincy course. So you don't have to come to it with any particular spiritual belief. Right? I mean, Julie, or does anybody
Yeah,
else want
and
to add anything to that?
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. I would say too that, our courses are not presented or taught through a particular spiritual or religious lens, to be very clear. And as Nikki said, part of the course, many of our courses is learning about being not judgmental, unconditional positive regard, and being open to listening and meeting people where they're at. So we're not coming at this from a particular religious or spiritual perspective. It's appropriate for anyone, regardless of your spiritual and religious background.
Right. And it might be that you have resources for a person who is seeking some sort of spiritual guidance that you yourself wouldn't be offering them, but as part of your toolkit, you have people in your community that you can perhaps direct a person to. So that's part of what you're doing also is being a resource for folks.
Another question, I think I'm trying to combine some of these, but there's some questions about, for instance, like Inelda and other offerings that offer end of life doula. And so I think it would be great if someone could describe how um, these work. We all work along, there are different offerings at different institutions, but many of our instructors have done multiple. Like I know many of our instructors have also done the Anelda program, and they've done the RUVM program. And so um, how and also about this kind of there is no certification. I just want to make that clear in the language too, because people are asking about certification. So that's kind of part of it. Is if you take the Anelda program, you get a certificate of completion from them. If you take our program, you get a certificate of completion from us. And so there are some CEUs connected that you can use for that. But would anyone else like to kind of add about how um, we work as one, option, but that people are, yeah, that you can do multiple if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. I have done multiple programs myself over the course of my doula career, looking for different perspectives from different teachers. And yep, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What we think is so great about our program, which just outlined before these FAQs, is how our program was developed by a medical school, our association with the Osher Integrative Health Network, and our presence here at the University of Vermont as being really big pluses to our programs. We think our courses are very rigorous, very well resourced, and up to date on what is current in the field of being an end-of-life doula. Everything again from human doula to companion animal doula to grief support and beyond. So those are the reasons why I think all of us are here in this program, and part of this program is because we believe in the strength of it. But there are other programs out there, and if people, want to pursue multiple avenues of education, that's great. And in terms of the certification, as Jess mentioned, there is no professional certification body in the United States. There is no licensing required to become an end-of-life doula or to practice as a doula. And so, as we've mentioned, at the end of the course, you will receive a professional certificate of completion. That is not a certification. It is a professional certificate. What it means to us is that you have successfully completed whichever course you've enrolled in, that you've successfully completed the course, gone through all the course materials, demonstrated proficiency through the assignments that we have assigned and that you have completed, and that you are ready to be in the world as a grief and bereavement specialist, or as a pediatric doula specialist, or a companion animal end of life doula, whatever the courses that you're taking. So that'd be my perspective on it, but happy if others want to chime in as well.
I think what I might add to that too, like Julie, through the course of my doula career, I am a little bit of a nerd, I'll be honest. And so I've taken quite a bit of different trainings that are offered. And the one thing that we can say is even though there's no regulatory body or certification process that happens, there is the National End of Life Doula Alliance, known as NEDA, that does have kind of code of ethics and standards of conduct that are kind of universally accepted within our community as being kind of what it is. And I would say that UVM's coursework really dovetails quite well with that. There's an exam you can take through NITA. If that's of interest to you. It's certainly not a requirement, but it is something that I think is, at least within our own community, respected. And the UVM courses will tee you up really well to be able to successfully pass that exam.
Thank you all so much. We are winding down, and we maybe even have been going over time, but but we're gonna keep. I'm gonna try and do like a rapid answering of some of these. Some people are asking if they're able to access readings ahead of the class. Is that something that's possible? Um, so for instance, for grief and bereavement, um, can they access any readings ahead of time, or is that just once the course
Well,
begins?
the course will have the modules each will have an assigned reading, but the book that the required book is called The Grieving Brain, which is very easily purchased from Amazon or your or local bookstores. And so, there would be absolutely nothing wrong with if you want to take the course and you know that The Grieving Brain is the required book, that you start reading The Grieving Brain. But in terms of advanced um, notice of the readings, no, because all the readings are very closely tied in with the module, that week's module. So we try to keep it, um, actually, we don't want to overwhelm students. And there's a lot of reading. There's a lot of reading for that course. So yeah, but the
So
book is
perhaps
always
getting the book
available.
ahead of time.
Oh,
So
sure,
getting the book ahead of time. Yep.
sure.
Another one for you, Nikki, while I've got you. We have someone who's an animal empath. Do you think they'd be a good candidate for the companion animal end of life course, or would it be too hard emotionally?
Well, the course deals with some tough issues. Euthanasia being one of the things that is discussed, um, you know, through the course, and there are different kinds.
Presented as an option, right? We never have a encourage one thing of another. It's more presented
Right,
as
but an understanding of euthanasia,
yeah.
and Dr. Ken, our veterinarian, who is an at-home vet, does at-home euthanasias, can talk about that and quality, and we present quality of life scales to help people being able to assess where their pet, is during the course of its illness. And we talk about anticipatory grief because that goes hand in hand with companioning your animal when your animal has a terminal diagnosis. So you are going to be dealing with animal death and dying. And I don't know if, as an animal empath, that's going to be um, overwhelming emotionally. Only you can decide that, in if in your work. Because again, the companion animal doula program is focused on, I hate to say, the human end of the leash, and working with the animal's guardian, and being able to support the guardian as they support their companion animal. I hope that
Thank
answers.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Sarah, there's some questions about business. Are there business parts within our other courses, or solely in our business foundations course?
Yeah, so I think, in the flagship course, like we were talking about, the kind of amalgamation of the resource directory, directory is a really huge asset to have that I think is fundamental to being able to be successful as a doula overall. And then the other coursework, as you probably heard, Julie, Laura, and Nikki speaking to, we're giving a real practical application in each and every one of the offerings. I think what the business course does is it kind of just takes the work of the doula and whatever kind of facet that's going to be relative to the service offerings, and then kind of runs it through the lens of a business. So what you'll be looking at is marketing, sales, operations, finance, things that are really kind of concrete business terms, and just taking the work of the doula and filtering it through that kind of perspective. But I think there are a lot of doulas who got to go through other coursework that was really focusing more on how do I do the art of the craft of the practice of doulaing, but then really we're still feeling a bit, just kind of overwhelmed by or, nervous about kind of taking it out into the world. And so the Business Foundations course is really about trying to help folks go from, again, that kind of ideation and really understanding how to do the craft of doula work, and then putting it externally out into the world so that you can attract clients. So yeah, I think you're going to get, real practical application in each and every one of our offerings, no doubt about it. Just the Business Foundations course is about honing that focus and really taking a look at how do we do the hygiene of running a business. I hope that helps to differentiate a little bit what's going on there.
And thank you so much to everybody here. Julie, if you wouldn't mind forwarding the slides just so we can leave everyone with our website. This will be a resource for you, hopefully to get any of your questions that were left unanswered. I do apologize. Or future questions, but you can find all of our courses are listed here. You can look into to each of them for registration, for dates. There's a email address also, learn@uvm.edu, that you can email with any remaining questions. We can get you in touch with the right people. And again, this will be recorded and shared and also on the website. So I would just like to thank everyone for taking this time tonight. Thank you to our presenters, to our instructors. Thank you to Lauren, who's been answering as many questions as she can. And thank you to all of you who showed up and asked questions. And we hope to see you again. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.